Good afternoon, everybody. So, as promised, we're going to get into some gear today. So if you don't know, I'm Cool Tree, and me and my son, Stranger, we just completed a Sobo Appalachian Trail journey. 2,200 miles south, starting on June 13th and ending on November 1st. So we are going to get into everything that was in my pack when we finished, and we'll go over the details of it all. So jumping right in, we'll start off with what I was wearing most days. So I had Hoka's. Those are my shoes. This is the last pair I had. There's 700 miles, more than 700 miles on this pair of Hoka's. We bought these somewhere in Virginia. I actually ordered them online and my wife brought them to me in Virginia. We bought two other pairs. We bought three pairs total. We bought a pair in New Hampshire, we bought a pair in New Jersey, and then we bought this pair in Virginia. The other shoes got about 500 miles. The shoes we started off with already had 250 miles on them. So we only got about 250 more on those before we bought the first pair. We got about 500 on the next pair, maybe a little more than 500 on the next one, and then 700 on these. So they did pretty well at the end. Up north, the rocks and everything in New Hampshire and New Jersey totally ate the shoes up. So you're in Maine, New Hampshire, you're not getting much more than 500 if you get 500 miles. But on the southern part of it, we were able to get, again, like I said, over 700 miles on these. And I would still wear them. If we were still hiking, I would not have, and you can see the treads are getting more out, but there's still something there. So I would probably not have bought new ones yet. If we still had more miles to go. So could have probably got 800 miles on these. So this pair of Hoka's turned out really good for us. So the other thing, of course, I had my hat. I always wear a hat. And we've got Darn Tough socks. So I ended up carrying about 4 pair. One I was wearing, 3 in the pack, I'll show you. They all did wear holes in them, so I am gonna send them back to Darn Tough. I got holes on the bottom of all of them. We traded one pair in, I think in New Hampshire, at an REI that did that for us. But as we got further south, all the other gear stores were out of their allowances for trading them in. If you don't know, usually there's a lifetime guarantee on these. A lot of the gear stores, they'll go ahead and facilitate the trade for you. But by the time we got there, September, October, they couldn't do anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and send them in, and they'll send new ones. My shirt was a wool shirt. It is Merino Tech. I found it on Amazon. It's like $50, I think, and it came with the free socks. But these are actually really comfortable, 100% wool shirts. I actually bought this one, I don't know, maybe New Jersey somewhere. I started with another one, a darker green, and I started with a smart wool shirt. And I actually the smart wool ones are more expensive. I ended up liking these shirts a lot better. They're more comfortable, they fit better. And again, being 100% wool, they don't smell that bad either, which is definitely a plus. And I would have just some black Nike shorts that would carry, I'd carry 2 more pair, which I'll show you those, but that's pretty much what I was wearing. Also would wear a fanny pack. So I will open this up and show you what I had in there. All right, so in the fanny pack, this is a light AF fanny pack. It actually worked out really well. I liked having it. The backpack that I have didn't have any hip belts pockets, so this ended up being all I needed for that. It was great. I would keep my phone, so this is like a mesh pocket up front. I would keep my phone in there so I would be able to pull it out real quick if I needed to take a picture or video or anything like that. I don't know if it's kind of waterproof. It's got the waterproof zipper and everything. I don't know that it was 100% waterproof, but when it did rain, I would put my phone inside. The only thing, and you can see it's pretty well worn. The only thing that did not wear well is the zipper. You can see that little zipper broke. Should have one of these on there. It came off, not a big deal because this one still works. So fanny pack was definitely very good. So inside, I would usually keep most of my cords that I need frequently or often, like the charging my phone, charging my watch, or charging the battery pack. So I would keep the battery pack. This is my, I think it's 20,000. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 20, but this is it. This I actually bought this, and I bought this like in New Jersey too, I think. I had 2 10s. Wasn't quite enough. Sometimes I was running, it was really close because we did some longer runs between towns. So the 20 was, plus all the filming and making the movies and stuff, the 20 was just cutting a little close, 2 10s. So I ended up getting a 20, and I kept one of the 10s for the rest of the trip, and that was plenty. Worked out perfect. But I would keep this one in the fanny pack. I would keep the cords in the fanny pack, which is kind of a mess, but a lot of cords. I would keep my headlamp in there, especially about since Virginia, midway through Virginia, because it was starting to get dark a lot earlier, so it would, we'd often need it in the evenings. So I would go ahead and keep that. That is a Nightcore headlamp. I actually bought the Nightcore one. Man, I think I got this in Hot Springs, which is pretty late. But what happened, I mean, I lost, so I started off with one that ended up just breaking, didn't work. And then I bought another one, and I lost that one. I don't know, it fell out somewhere. So then I bought this one. I would also keep hand sanitizer, some Blistex, and that's really it. And the outlet, the block that I don't have. But I would keep a block in there because anytime you got to a store or a restaurant and if you had an outlet, I wanted it quick and easy to get to, because I would plug it in and we would get power wherever we could. And make sure that you get a block that has multiple USB or USB-Cs on there. That way we could charge a couple things at one time. And then other thing that I would keep in here usually is some kind of snack. I would put like one of those peanut butter bars or a pack of candy or something like that in here. Something that I could get to pretty quick if I wanted to, without having to take the pack off and take the food bag out. So that's what went in there. So now let's get to the pack and I'll show you what's in there. All right, so first I'm going to show you the outside of my pack. It's an Osprey Exos 58, and it was a really good pack most of the time. I'm going to show you some of the wear. So this version of pack I actually bought in 2020. So you can't get this pack. It's been updated a couple of times since then. So it did have quite a few miles on it before we went. Probably, I don't know, 500 maybe. Maybe not that much. Maybe 400 or so. But just the wear, most of the wear was on the hip belts here. So you can look at that. That one was hanging on by a thread there. Not much holding that guy together. And as I've said before, but the hip belts are pretty big. So I did get sized for a pack, and this is a large pack, so 20 to 23 inches for the back size, which is what fit me. But the hip belt, however, was cinched all the way. You can see it will not get any tighter. And it was okay at first. It fit at first, but somewhere around Virginia, I think I lost enough weight where the hip belt was pretty much not doing anything. It was loose, and so everything was on my shoulders. But I think if I were to do it again, I would get one of those custom packs where I can get a hip belt that actually is made for my waist size. So the wear there, the corners here are coming through, and then all the mesh pockets just have holes, that's just from getting stuff in and out of often. This pocket over here has a hole. That's where my water bottle went. So my water bottle would sit right in there, and then the top, this kind of hugged the top, and eventually just went through. but that's not a big deal. I didn't mind that at all. The pads, the shoulder pads, very comfortable. They start wearing through, but that's gonna happen, especially if all the weight's on my shoulders. And let's see, the outside pouch is actually pretty good. There's no other holes. The bottom wore fine. There's no holes there. 58 liters fit everything I needed. I never needed any more space or anything like that. So the size of it was perfect for me. Yeah. So the only thing on the outside of my pack, on the front here, there's some little loops, and I've got a pack towel tied to it. That's what I would just use for my face, wiping sweat or something like that off while we were hiking. And then on this side, I do have a knife that I could get to if I needed. Also lost one of those along the way, so I picked that one up, I don't know, somewhere halfway through, I think. And then on the back, using little carabiners, I've got my camp shoes, Crocs, which I would use, and I would bring those again. I know there's other options for those too, but I think there's lighter options, but these turned out pretty good. And you could actually, we used them to cross rivers if we didn't want to get our shoes wet. So they work pretty good for that as well. Like if you brought flip-flops or something, you probably wouldn't be able to do that. So just make sure if you got them on the outside, we've got them strapped in there because it gets annoying if they're moving around. All right, well, so let's go into inside the pack and show you what I got in there. All right, starting with this outside pocket here, I would keep a sit pad. This is just a cheap foam pad found on Amazon. You can see it is very worn. Time for that one to be thrown away. They're super cheap. You can get like a pack of 2 or 3 of them, I think. I would keep my water filter and water carry systems back here. So in here I've got a C-Knock. This is a 2-liter water bag. I did go through several of these. I bought several C-Knocks. I bought a Platypus 2.5-liter bag. I tried just using smart water bottles. We tried a bunch of stuff. I like these the best. It just got frustrating because they kept getting little holes in them. But I would keep using these. These are the easiest they fold up really good. They don't take up a lot of room. They're light. They're easy to fill because you can take this whole back side off and fill water up. You just open that up, or you can fill it up there. So the filter screws right on top. All you do is squeeze it through the filter. So I do like these bags the best. The filter system I had was a Sawyer Squeeze. I started off with the Sawyer Minis, but they were just too slow. They're definitely too slow. So somewhere in New Hampshire, we ended up buying full-size Sawyer Squeeze. And then also in this bag, so this is an old Mountain Dew bottle that I would use for a scoop. So if there was just a little puddle or something, or really trickling water that you couldn't really fill up the bag easily, you just scoop it with that, pour it in the bag. So I would keep that. It came in handy a lot, especially when it started getting drier. And then I also just had other miscellaneous kind of spare parts. So I had the spare cap, spare water bottle cap. I had a spare filter, like a little gasket. Oh, it's actually in there. So a little spare gasket, which actually came in handy because there's one on the inside of there, and I actually had one come out, and I don't know where it went, but I went to go filter water, and water was leaking everywhere up there, and just found that the filter was missing. So I put a new filter in there. And then I found this one in a hiker box. So almost every hiker box we looked into had one of these bags and spare Sawyer parts. Everybody if you buy a Sawyer Squeeze, it comes with all this stuff, but everybody's already got it, so they just kind of throw the rest of it in the hiker box. So check those out if you need. Once I used my spare O-ring, I found another one pretty quick in the next hiker box. So very handy. Also had, let's see, quick access to my raincoat. Definitely needed that, especially early. So I would keep that stuffed into the back there. And quick access to my pack cover. So I did have a big pack cover, and I would use that on my pack if it was raining. I mean, anything to try to keep rain out from inside my pack, I would do it. I also kept my sun sleeves that I would grab every once in a while. If I knew I was gonna be out like on an exposed ridgeline or in a field or something for a long time, I would go ahead and put these on. I get burnt pretty easily, so I try to keep my arms covered up. I also had a knee brace. I bought this in Maine at the beginning. I wore it for a little while. I didn't wear it all the way through New Hampshire, so I just kind of stuck it in there just in case I needed it again. But I never did. I did have some knee pain in the 100-mile wilderness. Seemed like this helped. I bought this right after the 100-mile wilderness, wore this for a couple 100 miles, and I never really had a problem again. So, and then I had this is just a spare bag. I think my pillow or something came in there. This is my bear bag hanging kit, basically. So it's just a random bag that I had for some other gear at one point. But in there, we would keep rope and a carabiner, and we would use this to hang our food bags at camp every night. And then we also ended up carrying, and I don't really know, we carried a rock for it. So, you know, you put the rock in there, you want to throw it over a tree. A lot of times you think, well, I'll just find a rock in camp. But you'll be surprised at how many times, especially in the beginning, that we could not even find a decent rock in camp to throw over. So we just put this one in there. It weighs extra. We ended up carrying it when we didn't really need to, I guess, most of the time. But it made it easier. We didn't have to go searching camp for a rock every night. We would just put this in there. But this just gives you some weight so you can throw it over a branch. And then I would keep some spare tent stakes. So when I was in Tennessee, I lost my tent stakes, and I needed, what do I need? 6 stakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 8 stakes. I need 8 stakes, I think, and I could only buy a pack of 6 or a pack of 12, and I needed 8. So I bought a pack of 12. I got 4 extras just in case I lost any other ones, and I went ahead and kept them. They're pretty light, but I do have my other stakes. The actual ones I use to set the tent up are in the bag. But I would go ahead and keep these just in case. All right, and then you've got the brain of the pack. There's nothing in there right now. All I would really keep in there would be the food that's planned for today. So I would separate all my food per day, and in the morning I would pull out a little baggie. Then this would be all the food that I can eat for that day, and I would put it up here so it's quick and easy to get to. I wouldn't need to open my pack. I wouldn't need to pull stuff out. I just unzip the top, pull that bag out, and I've got snacks, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. So, going into the pack, first thing is the food bag on the very top. Nothing in there right now. There's no food. There's a couple things in there that I would keep in there, but there's no food in there right now. But one of the things I would keep in there is my cook pot and stove. I would just keep a rubber band on it to keep the top together. So you can see it fits my stove. This is just a cheap little stove that I bought on Amazon. It just unfolds. It works. It was a little wild. The fire's a little wild than some of them, but it works. I would keep in here just a little lighter. This doesn't have a little button that you can click to light the flame, so once you get the gas going, you just give it a little flick here, and then you'll get your fire. I would also keep the fuel with a rag. So the rag was helpful for cleaning the pot or just like a napkin while eating or something like that. But I would keep it with, with the meals, with the pot, so that you had it at every meal. So you would clean the pot with it, and then the fuel. So the fuel fits perfectly in there. It also helps if you wrap this up in the fuel, it keeps it from rattling in the backpack. So you don't have to hear it all day while you're moving. All right, I also had my fork, which is just a Toaks titanium spork, I guess. Either one, spork or the spoon works. I guess I should mention this is a Toaks titanium 750 pot. The 750 pot, this actually worked perfectly. You don't need any more than this, I don't think. If you fill it all the way up with water, it's the right amount for 2 packs of ramen. And then any of the camp meals or the rice, they only take, up to 2 cups max, which is like right there. So there's plenty of room in there. You shouldn't need a bigger pot than that. And then we had this little homemade foil pack. So what we would do is, if we were rehydrating the rice, for example, you put the boiling water in here, you put the rice in here, and then we would just set that in this, close it up, and then wait 5 minutes. But this helps keep the water really hot. And it worked. I mean, even after 5-10 minutes, you pull this out and that water and that rice is still pretty hot, which gives you a nice hot meal. It also helps the rice rehydrate, and yeah, it works pretty good. So next in order at the top would be my tent and the tent items. I like to, when we get to camp, I like to go ahead and set the tent up first. Just kind of get that out the way, so that when you sit down and eat dinner, and as soon as you're done with that, you can just go straight and lay down if you wanted to. So I had this is my tent's rain fly, and I bought this bag because when it first came, it came wrapped up with my tent. So this is the tent bag, and I have it stuffed down long ways like this. But a lot of times you'd get this really wet. Even if it wasn't raining, there would be dew on it. And I didn't want to roll it up with my tent. So I bought a separate waterproof bag that I can keep the rain fly for the tent in. And I'll tell you what, after this, we'll go outside. I'll set my tent up, and I'll set all that up like I would normally do it, and I'll show you around, and I'll show you how this tent sets up. But this is a Big Agnes. I think it's the Fly Creek UL2. So I actually bought this, man, it is probably 8 years ago, if I had to guess. 8-9 years ago. So I don't think they don't even make this one anymore. Big Agnes still makes a nice, pretty light tent. This one is very light. It's a good tent. It worked out really well. There's some things I would change, and I'll show you that when we set it up. But and then I had the stakes. So these are the tent stakes that I bought. This is another random. It's a pack towel bag. So one of us, either stranger or I, bought a pack towel at one point, kept the bag, and I used it for my tent stakes. And then this is the tent's ground cover. So I would put this down first and then put the tent on top of it, and it just helps protect against a little bit extra moisture protection from the bottom, and any kind of sticks or rocks. It helps keep you from tearing a hole in the bottom of your tent. All right, I would have just kind of stuffed up here at the top. I would have my my green titanium cup. This is for drinking coffee in the morning, tea, chocolate, or whatever we would have. But this is what I would drink out of. All right, and then in the last the last month or so, I would often just have stuffed up here at the top my coat and my fleece, and that's because. So this is a Appalachian Gear Company alpaca fleece hoodie, and then this is an Enlightened Equipment puffy jacket. Very nice. Definitely recommend both of these. They were very comfortable, very warm, Both of them came in handy. But they were usually just kind of stuffed in here at the top because I'd be wearing this in the morning when we would start walking or start hiking. So usually, you know, you try to start peeling off some layers before you really get going, and I would just kind of stuff them in the top. Also, that way, if we stop for a break and it does get cold, I can reach in there and easily have it. Now, if it was gonna rain that day, then I would make sure that it goes further in where it can be protected from water, but most of the time just stuffed it right here on top. All right, so then we get to the waterproof layer. So let me show you. We have a compactor bag that lines this pack. So everything that I want completely waterproof, I would put in there. So starting at the top of that, I had a towel, and I would keep my toothbrush rolled up in there. And I would put the toothpaste in there as well, and I would just kind of roll it up. That way it was setting out in my tent or something, so I knew where it was. The next two bags. So this is the bathroom bag. All these bags are just Sea to Summit bags or Osprey bags. But in the bathroom bag, you just keep some toilet paper, you keep a trowel if you need to dig a hole, and you keep some hand sanitizer. So I would just keep this bag separate. You know, if you had to go to the privy or whatever, then you would just grab that bag. And then the other bag, again, it's an Osprey bag. This is kind of the miscellaneous bag. So I have extra hand sanitizer. I had an extra lighter. I've got just a bag of miscellaneous cords. So it might be like the headlamp cord, or I've got a pump that blows up my mattress. That cord will be in there. The cords for the power banks maybe. So there's just other miscellaneous cords that I didn't need as often. I would keep them in there. I had a spare toothbrush. It was like a 2-pack when I bought one. So I just kept the other one. And then I have a first aid kit and a repair kit. So there's little repair patches for like your either your coat or your tent or something like that, or your mattress. And then there's a first aid kit which just had some ointments, bandages, things like that. I did have some KT tape, which I would use to tape up any hot spots on your feet or something if you thought you might be getting a blister. We never had a problem, either one of us had a problem with blisters, but anytime you thought maybe you felt something on your feet, just go ahead and wrap it up. We did do that a few times. I did have a beard comb. I don't know why I never used it. Tried to keep the beard looking nice, but it got a little crazy. And then there's my other power bank is in there as well. So there's just there's just some miscellaneous patching. So that could be used to patch the mattress, that could be used to patch a tent, anything like that. So there's just several of those items in there. Oh, and some super glue. I actually used this to fix one of my shoes one time. The little bottom tread was flapping around a lot. Put this on there and it was good for like another week. All right, the next bag is the clothes bag. So not all of the clothes that I had are in here, but I'll show you what I typically had. So towards the end, I did have a thermal layer. This is just a Smart Wool 250 thermal layer, which I bought. I love these Smart Wool long sleeve shirts. They are very warm. I would usually sleep in it in the last couple of weeks when it did start getting cold. I had a gaiter, like a neck gaiter in there. I don't know why I never used it. So, all right, my spare shirts. So I did carry 2 spare shirts. Both of them are wool. And what I would do, so I started off only carrying 1 spare shirt. So I figured I would hike in 1 shirt, and then when you do laundry, you've got another shirt to put on or go to town or whatever. But we ended up getting in the rain so often. I bought a whole nother shirt. I bought a whole nother set of clothes, because if you're hiking, you get soaking wet, but tomorrow maybe it's not going to rain. I didn't want to have to get up and put all those wet clothes back on. So I ended up buying a whole nother set. So I do have 2 spare shirts in here. I had a spare set of shorts. I don't have them with me right now. I think they're upstairs. And then I have my spare socks. So I do have 3 pair of spare socks. And again, it's because I was so tired of having wet feet, wet socks, wet shoes. So if I knew that it wasn't going to rain that day, and it might have rained, or we got our feet wet yesterday, I'm gonna go ahead and put new socks on. It really made for just a much more comfortable day, and morale was much better when I could put new socks on. So I did carry 3 pair of socks, which may be more than a lot of people, but we didn't have any kind of liners. I didn't need any kind of Injinji liners or anything like that. Again, I never had a problem with blisters with these. And these are all Darn Tough socks. I started off with I think a Smart Wool pair of socks. Nowhere near as good. The Darn Tough socks are really nice. I did have a pair of thermal leggings. I wore them only a couple times to sleep in, and then of course I wore them on the very last day. You can see them on our pictures from Springer. It was cold that day. So we ended up just wearing these with our shorts on top of them. And then my spare pants. So I wanted to keep these. These are cool. They're zip off pants. These would usually be my town shorts without the leggings on there. But I kept the leggings the whole time, thinking, maybe on a rainy day, a windy day, or when it started getting cold, I might want another layer for my pants, but I never did. I never wore them with the leggings after Katahdin. I climbed Katahdin in these, and then after that, I never wore them. So I could have sent the leggings part home, but ended up carrying them the whole way. Even on the last day, we still just wore shorts with the thermal leggings. So, and then all of that is kept in a Sea to Summit waterproof dry bag. So it's just another layer of protection for my clothes. I think it's super important to make sure that you can, even if it's raining on you all day, that when you go to sleep at night, you can sleep dry and warm. So I wanted to make sure that all of my clothes that I wanted dry stayed 100% dry. So waterproof bag, compactor bag, rain cover on the pack, all those things just to make sure that my stuff would stay dry. All right, and then we would get to what I would sleep on. So I have an REI Flash sleep pad. I bought this a long time ago at an REI, one of those garage sales. I don't know if you remember their old garage sales. They were pretty nice. And it lasted the whole time. I never had an issue with it. It never deflated. It deflated on me like one night, and I thought it had a leak, but I think I just didn't close the little knob very well, because it never did it again. So, and I did have this pump, which actually was it Gigapump. Found it on Amazon. Works out great. Last thing you want to do at the end of the day is have to huff and puff into this bag to blow it up. So just use this. It's a little loud, but worth it. And it's not very heavy. I would definitely recommend getting one. There's also the bags where you can just like inflate the bag and put the air in there, which helps. So that way you don't have to blow it up. But this pad, it is an insulated pad. I don't know if it tells me what it is. 3.2 R value. 3.2. That's pretty good. It's 2.5 inches thick, and it only weighs about a pound. I know there's lighter ones. There's certainly pads that are a lot lighter. Not a lot lighter. It's only 16 ounces, so it couldn't get that much lighter. But there are lighter ones. But it's a very good pad. Worked out well for me. All right, I've got the Sea to Summit Reactor liner. So I actually carried this the whole way. for a couple reasons. I figured in the summertime, I could use it like a sheet. So if it got too hot for the quilt, then I would just use this, which I did do a few times. And then if I wasn't using this as a sheet to cover me up, I would use it as a sheet on the sleeping pad. That way, it just kind of kept the sleeping pad as clean as I could. This is easy to take off and wash when you get into town. So I would usually just sleep on this. It also just feels better than sleeping on the, the plasticky feeling sleeping pad. You put this on there and it feels a little better. It feels more like a real bed. And when it did get cold, I definitely layered up in it. This is supposed to add, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 degrees or something like that, maybe more, to the temperature rating of your sleeping bag. So being that we only had 30-degree bags, I knew we had the potential of getting colder than that at the end of the year. So again, I kept this and I did wrap up in it. So between this, the 30-degree bag, and then all my layers that I would wear, we never got too cold at night. And then let's see, I've got a pillow. So this is another thing that I had to buy. I bought this in Virginia. My other pillow that I got, it did get a hole in it. It did start deflating. I would have to blow it up a couple times in night. So I did go ahead and buy this one. This is an Arto. It's like an ergonomic. It's shaped kind of weird. It wasn't bad. I don't think I would necessarily go out and get another one if I had to. Just, the other pillow was just fine too, so. And then again, kind of like the liner, I would use this. This is just like a gator, but I would put the pillow in there and use it like a pillowcase almost. And that just kind of keeps the pillow clean. And I can easily take this off and wash this in town, when we do our other laundry. So just kind of helps keep things clean. And then last is the quilt. So I really do like this quilt. It's a Z-Pax 30-degree quilt, down, and it worked. It worked really well. It stuffs down. You can see it compresses very much. It's very light and staticky, right? But it's got a super lightweight waterproof bag that it comes with, and it is down. You just kind of fluff it up a little bit when you put it in there. It's a quilt, so it doesn't zip up, but I did get the foot box, so you can put your feet in there and then just kind of pull it up like a blanket, and it is very warm. Again, it's a 30-degree rated bag, but we had it out. I wore it on the night that got below 20 degrees on our last night. I had this, I had the liner, and I had, thermal, and I think I even wore the coat to bed, so. But I wasn't cold, even in a 30-degree bag. So you can get, I think they have 20-degree or 10-degree bags. If you were going out in the winter, if I was going out in the winter, I would go ahead and buy a 10 or a 20. But they're a little bit heavier. And going south, we started in June. So we never had, the only really, really cold nights were the last week or so in Georgia and North Carolina. So we were fine with it. It worked out really well. And that's it. That's everything that I carried. So let me show you, I'm gonna go ahead and we'll go outside, we'll set the tent up, and I'll show you how that sets up and tell you what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. All right, so here we are all set up. You can see we've got a nice vestibule here. So this can be rolled back, and you've got like a nice area there that you can put shoes or whatever. Here, that's the inside there. I'll show you the outside here first. So these clip to the tent, so it gives you a little more room inside when you use the rainfly. It also pulls it out so you get ventilation, but keeps the rainfly off of the tent itself. So you see it's all pulled out. There is separation everywhere, so the rainfly might get wet, but it usually stays right out. So that is what it looks like. So let's get the pad and everything inside so you can see how big it is. All right, so here it is with the door open. I've got my sleeping pad, pillow with the pillowcase, and I went ahead and put the the liner on the pad like I would, like a sheet, and then I've got the quilt. So you can see coming in here, we've got a lot of room over here for, this is where I usually put my pack, and then I would put any of the other items that were in the pack, usually right in here. Shoes I would keep outside, water bottles and water stuff I would keep outside just in case. But you see there is pretty good room. One thing I do like about it is you can take the rain fly off completely and just have this open. So if it was a nice night, you knew it wasn't gonna rain, then you could get a nice breeze and see the trees when you sleep. And we have a little curious cat again. Has to come see what I'm doing. All right, so this is the only real complaint I have about this tent is how you have to get in it. So you got to come in from the end, and this is the end that you're gonna want your head. So you can't really just come in and lay down because it does get really low back there. So you do have to come in. You got to spin all the way around. Try to just fit in here before you can lay down. So that's the door. We lay this way. It does have a cool little net here, so I would put like headphones or something up there. But I think they fixed that. I think on the newest Big Agnes tents, they're more dome shaped and they have a door on the side, like a big D door, which is pretty cool. Much nicer. Oh, she's gonna come in. Coming in? She has to check it out. But yeah, plenty of room. This is technically a 2-person tent. I don't think I would put 2 people in here, but it does fit my pack, fits my bed, and everything else I needed. It could fit a cat. She could come in if she wanted. Coming in? All right, well, that's it. So, one thing, let me spin this around. I'm gonna show you one thing that did start falling apart. So you can see this is like a weather tape on the seam. So that did start coming off. Never made a big deal. Never started leaking or anything. The only spot it actually did start leaking right up in here, right in there, probably where that corner is on the rain fly. If we were in the rain and it was raining really hard, it would start to drip a little bit. But other than that, I had no problems with water, no problems with condensation. Sometimes if the pack was pushing all the way against the rain fly, it would get a little wet on the inside, but other than that, pretty good. And here's just another view so you can see kind of how much room you have. So that's the whole bed system over there. Pack and other things could sit there. And then right here in this vestibule, you could put your water bottles, shoes, socks, something like that. Already took the stakes out, but you can see when we take the rain fly off, if it's not going to rain that night, you see how much nice and open that is. You can lay down and stare at the trees or the stars, get a nice breeze. So this is the benefit of having a double wall tent with the separate rain fly instead of those single wall ones, but yeah, so there it all is. So that's all the gear I had with me at the end. I don't think I would really change anything. Nothing much changed during the hike other than adding a whole nother set of clothes. I added shorts and underwear, socks, and shirt, and that's because I got tired of being wet. So I did add that, but most of the other gear, other than things I had to do because I lost my headlamp, my stakes, those are the only other things that I really changed. And I added a battery bank just because I was using the phone a lot to make the videos. So yeah, I don't know. I think it worked out pretty good. The only thing, if I were to make changes or if I did want to try something, I would try those ultra lightweight tents, like a Z-Packs tent or something. I wouldn't mind trying one of those just to save some weight. Maybe the lighter sleep pads. And then of course the backpack. I'm definitely going to try to get some kind of backpack where I can customize the hip belt and make sure that it actually fits me. But other than that, I mean, I think I would go back out with every bit of this. I think it all worked pretty well for me. Nothing ended up too heavy. I think I said at one point, well, I think before I left, it weighed about 19 pounds. Base weight, no food, no water. And at one point, I think in Tennessee, we weighed it with food and water, and I was right around 30. So I had food, I had like 2 days, maybe 2.5 days of food. I had water, and then we had some warmer clothes that maybe weren't in there. So that put me around 30 pounds. So probably 22 or 23 base weight, and the rest would have been the food and water. But overall, I liked everything, and I would recommend everything. Although some of it's pretty old, so you probably can't get it all exactly, but worked out good for me. So thanks for watching. I hope it helps. If you're planning your hike in 2024, good luck. I hope you have a good time. And if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask down there. I'll try to comment. I know I haven't been doing that like at all, but we'll try to get in there. So if you do have any questions, let me know. But other than that, thanks for watching, guys. And if you're interested in a hammock or what Stranger was carrying, he's going to do a gear video himself, he says. I don't know when, but he'll do one. And then we'll get that posted up so you can see the differences. You know, obviously mine's a tent. He had a hammock, so he does have, he had a lot of things that were different. So be looking for that video also. We'll put that up soon. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys later.